G'day guys, Tim here from Beat the Reset with my two Army generals in Vegas. We have Sammy from Liberty. How are you, Sammy?
Oh, fantastic as always, Timmy. What a time to be alive, some might say. Here we are in the US of A, the land of the free, the place that's got the Statue of Liberty. What a time, mate. What a time.
And of course, the Baron of Bitcoin from Stormrake. How are you, sir?
Doing well, very well, guys. I'm feeling incredibly bullish. As a general reminder, you're not bullish enough. What a time to be alive, as Sammy's always saying. And, at the end of the day, we're here to help people get away from the banks and get into scarce digital and physical assets. Let's get going, guys.
Yeah, so let's quickly go there for a minute. I mean, we've got obviously physical gold and silver stand up beautifully in markets that start to, low confidence markets. People run to safe haven assets. Can you talk a bit about that, Sammy?
Absolutely, Timmy. When things start to go wrong in the system, when there's a stock market crash or something like that, when the world starts to turn a bit sour, people rush towards gold and silver. They rush for the exits. And it's been the same for 5,000 years. So that's what I do for a living. I help people get into gold and silver, and what an asset they are. I mean, last year price of gold up 40% in Aussie dollars. This year up over 20% in 5 months. What's the bank going to pay you for? 4%? That stuff's for losers.
Bish, Bitcoin, where does it sit when markets become, in low confidence debt based markets? Where is Bitcoin? What does it do? What can it do?
It's a fantastic question. I mean, Bitcoin's only been around for 16 years. And so it's only been tested a number of times where there was the COVID pandemic. We had the recent tariff sell-off where gold did exceptionally well. And Bitcoin did get sold off. It went from 108, 109 down to 74. But what we're finding now is that tech stocks and the US stock market has continued to slide. The US bond market is showing severe signs of stress. The credit markets are in trouble. Usually that is a risk-off environment and Bitcoin sells off during that period of time. We've actually seen the inverse of that happening, and we talked about that, which is the correlation break, how Bitcoin is now being seen as a neutral monetary asset. And there's a lot of positioning that's been going out there, getting people, look, it's very early to say, but I would like to think that Bitcoin has transitioned away from being a ultra bullish risk-on asset that still is applicable for the wider cryptocurrency market. I think Bitcoin is now heading towards being a safer risk-off neutral option, but we'll see what the market says over the next few months.
Now, of course, we are here at a place called Club Privé in the Bellagio, very bougie. The Bellagio, very bougie place named after Bellagio in the Como district in Italy. Obviously, we're in Las Vegas, and it's great to have you guys here. I can't believe the three of us are actually in Las Vegas. What a journey it's been. Sammy, can you tell us a little bit about your journey so far? You've been to the US. You've been in the US a little while now.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
So I've been in the US for just around about a week now. So I initially flew into Texas as I am setting up a Texas shop. Not Liberty Bullion, another name because Liberty Bullion was already taken in the US. So Eureka Bullion is what it's going to be called. I also visited LA for a quick trip just to meet up with the guys from New Zealand Mint. We had a great meeting with them. So some really exciting stuff to come in that department. Back to Texas after that, and here I am in Vegas today with the boys. I love the US, guys. I absolutely love this country. It is the land of the free. There is a culture of freedom here. There is a deep appreciation of the precious metals here as well. It is deeply ingrained in American culture. It is written in the US Constitution itself that only gold and silver can be used as payment for all debts, private and public. So that's incredible. And they've got silver coinage. Well, up until the 60s, they made silver coinage. I mean, Tim talks about the history in much better detail than I do. But this is a country that deeply appreciates gold and silver as part of its culture and has a freedom culture, a culture of freedom, not a nanny state, a culture of freedom. And I'd love being
Which nanny state you might be referring to there, Sammy? I mean, that's a little bit harsh.
I mean, sure, mate. Not sure.
What nanny states could we be referring to? Bish, can you tell us, you've been in Vegas for a few days. This town is, exactly a right fit for you in so many ways.
Yeah, well, I do love to gamble.
But not with your wealth, of course.
No, just with
that's
the
a whole.
But
tell us what your experience has been like in Vegas. I mean, does it feel similar to Australia? Is it different in any way?
It couldn't be further apart from one another. And I mean, Sammy's getting set up in just an hour out of Dallas. Stormrake is setting up an office in downtown Dallas in the financial district. They've got a big appreciation of energy markets over there. There's a lot of Bitcoin mining occurring within the state of Texas. So it's only natural for us to get set up there. So within the next 6 to 12 months, we'll be announcing our Dallas headquarters for our US operations, which is going to be fantastic, right in the middle of the country. Sammy and I are going to be spending a lot more time here. I hope you are as well.
I'll be here.
I love this country, man. Like, God bless America. You know what I mean? It's just, it has its problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but
No country is.
no country is. But from my end, it's a true reflection of what everybody should be striving towards. It's entrepreneurship, it's freedom, it's liberty. Dare I borrow a statement?
Do they support? Do they support wealth and business? I mean, are they?
Oh.
Are they?
Absolutely.
Mate, being an entrepreneur here, you get treated like an absolute king. They give you the red carpet experience, and they don't blame you for having a go. You can start businesses and they fall over, and it's not a reflection of your character. Whereas in Australia, if you start a business and it fails for whatever reason, right? It's a reflection on your character. You get your directorship gets revoked, all kinds of things, right? And so it's a really bad experience to be an entrepreneur in Australia. Whereas here in America, it's actually encouraged, having a go, getting stuck into it multiple times. There's no tall poppy syndrome. So if you're actually successful, people, instead of it being something that they want to cut down, it becomes aspirational. Like, oh, if he can do it, I can do it. That's what I've always loved about this country. Whereas if you look at like their athletes, for example, their sports stars after a game of, like, say, American football, instead of going, got to pay props to the other team and all this other, we're the greatest, we win, we're the best. Like, I love that attitude. That's very reflective of my personality. I want to win, and I think it's very supportive business environment.
Sammy, you don't get a lot of American businesses moving to Australia to set up. You
No.
tend to see it the other way around.
Yep.
Does this resonate with you as a business owner?
Absolutely, big time. And the way that I see it is, if you can make it in Australia, in, like Bish is saying, an environment that is not as healthy for entrepreneurs, not as supportive for entrepreneurs, then you're going to smash it in the US. And not only that, when you smash it in the US, you smash it with a market that's 20 times larger than Australia. If you can make good money in Australia, you can get absolutely loaded in America. There is so much opportunity here. It's a business culture. It's an entrepreneurial culture. I mean, the American dream, guys. What is the American dream? The American dream is to make it, right? Whereas, dare I say it, the Australian dream is to bet on property.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I remember that old New York song. It said, in New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. But I feel like it should be in Australia. It should be a song called, if you can make it in Australia, you can pretty much make it anywhere, because we have one of the harshest tax systems in the world.
yeah.
And I ain't looking any better with view tax, unrealized. When you get to unrealized capital gain
That's your exit signal.
That's kind of the
exit signal.
We need to get a big boat.
Yeah, I mean, you can't.
No, I had it right.
Yeah, correct. You don't want to send in the flood.
Oh, don't worry, I've been trying that.
No, but it's what I love about this is, despite the fact that, again, I'm not saying that America is like this utopia. It has its issues, but we're here to build better businesses for ourselves. And it's like, if you come in, and let's leave the Australian banks aside, the American banks have their own problems as well.
Yep.
But the American banks don't treat you for a criminal, or like a criminal for being a bullion dealer. They don't treat you like being a criminal for being a crypto broker. And I think that's something that is to be said. I mean, again,
So why though? Why Australia? Why is Australia taking?
We've been having that question.
I know that, but no, I've got a specific question.
Yes.
Why are Australian banks targeting cryptocurrency and bullion? Why Australia, and why is it when you come to the US you don't see that at all?
I believe and I'd love to hear your boys' opinion. I believe the Australian banks are in bail-in mode. We've spoken about this before.
I believe that.
You've raised it.
100%.
I just genuinely believe they're trying to shut off the exit rails. They're trying to keep people trapped within the fiat banking system.
Yep.
Because the Australian banks are some of the most over-levered banks in the world because of how exposed they are to the Australian property market.
Yep.
The Australian property market has been showing massive signs of distress, which is why they're actually trying to do all kinds of creative policies to try to engineer higher prices. And I would be very, very careful and cautious about leaving any material sums of money or funds in a commercial bank account right now in Australia, because I feel that they're going to shut down pretty soon.
Absolutely. Sammy, over to you.
I've got to echo what Bish is saying there, in that Australia is in a unique position. Our banks the whole thing's built on property. The whole Ponzi scheme is built on property. So with Australia having some of the most overvalued property in the world, you come to the US, you look at property prices here, and it's not dirt cheap, but for an Australian to come here and have a look at property prices, you think, oh, no way could you get it that cheap. No way is property that cheap here compared to Sydney, where you're paying $3 million for a dog box, and you come here and you can buy
You get a ranch.
You can buy a ranch. You can buy a mansion. You can live like a king in America for the kind of money that you spend in
Or
Australia.
a queen.
Or a queen. Let's
So
not be.
got to
Yeah, we got to be gender neutral here.
LGBTQI.
Yeah, exactly.
You could live like a baron.
Oh,
A samurai.
how do you live like a samurai?
But that's it, guys. Is that you look at Australia, you look at our property Ponzi scheme, and the banks are so exposed to this stuff, guys. Their entire business is built off of lending money to people for mortgages. So if the Australian property market crashes and everybody is levered to the hilt on these mortgages they can't afford to pay anymore, and you think about it as well with loan sizes, the average Australian can't afford a 15% interest rate. They can barely afford an 8% interest rate. So we can't fight inflation properly. The banks are in a tighter corner than even the American banks are. So that's why I think the Australian banks are so militant, is because they are so much more screwed than even the American banks are. And that's not me, championing American banks. They're screwed too. They're just screwed in a slightly less intense way. But I think it's like Bish says, it's because the Australian property Ponzi scheme is just so insane, and the banks are so insanely levered to it that they are on the precipice, a true cliffhanger. So for them, it's do or die, and I think that's why they are so unbelievably militant with people like us, people trying to get people out of that system, away from those banks, away from that counterparty risk. They go, no, don't you escape, because if too many people escape, then the whole charade crumbles anyway. And that's what they're trying to prevent.
It's gotten to the point where I say, if you've got more than a few $1,000s in a commercial bank account worth of exposure, you are doing yourself a massive, massive disservice, and you're going to put you and your family in dire straits. Right?
Well, you're highly exposed.
You're highly exposed. It's deeply problematic, right? You need to, don't think about yourself. If you got a wife, you got a husband, you got kids, you might be single and you just got to look after yourself, and that's perfectly fine as well. You got to look after your interests, guys, because I'll tell you something. The Australian commercial banks, they're coming after the exit rails. And I think that's why it's so important to protect yourself. You have to get out whilst the lifeboat is still available to you. Whereas if you try to get on the ship or get on the lifeboat after the ship has sunk, you're doing that with hundreds of thousands of other people. It's a bit of a disastrous situation.
Well, you can choose Noah's Ark or the Titanic. It's totally up to you. Now, boys, let's quickly talk about the highlights here. Sammy, since you've been in the States, just some of the highlights, some of the things that have really stood out to you. I mean, we've spoken about the fact that it's different to our country, but what are some of the real highlights that you're going to take away from you?
Well, look, there's a few things. First of all, being in America with an Australian accent is a life hack, guys.
They love the Aussies.
They love Aussies. The minute you open your mouth, everybody's super friendly. They want to help you in any way that they can. They want to tell you all about where to go and what to see. And they love us. They truly love us. So first of all, it's an amazing experience to be an Australian in America. Beyond that, guys, the freedom here, that you don't realize how programmed you are to live in a nanny state until you leave said nanny state. You find yourself, am I allowed to do this? Do I need permission for that? And Americans just look at you and they go, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What do you mean ask for permission, right? Free men don't ask for permission. And this is a free country.
Well, Sammy, I remember yesterday I rang Bish and I asked Bish if I could come to the casino with my T-shirt and my hat on.
Yeah.
Because if you try to do this as a crown, they will interrogate you.
Yeah.
And Bish said, buddy, this is Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? We have no rules here. It's
Yeah.
like, as long as you got cash, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bish? What's been the highlights for you?
Just being able to experience the American culture for the first time, because it's my first time here, and it's really everything that I thought it was going to be, and it makes me very excited to come and set up shop over here. And I think Sammy and I will naturally spend more and more time in Dallas and eventually migrate our whole, family and businesses over here. Of course, we'll still have an Australian presence. We're not discounting helping Australians, because they're the ones that need it the most, in my humble opinion. But I think that just from a general perspective, for myself, the highlight has been experiencing the American culture.
Now, Bish, what have you got there, Bish?
Well,
You've got a bit of show and tell here, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
got this out for you guys, because a lot of the time people tell me, oh, Bitcoin's a Ponzi, Bitcoin's a scam, all this.
And they all talk like that.
Yeah, they do. They got about 2 brain cells and they walk around with their knuckles. But I'll show you guys something.
Not the CTR people.
No.
That was really
clear on.
clear.
CPR family is incredibly intelligent, and that's why they're here, right? That's why they're with us. But
Yeah.
look at what's on the top of the American dollar, guys. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Pyramid with an all-seeing
I
eye.
mean, that's not ominous at all.
Oh,
I
it's a
mean,
difference king.
yeah, it's.
I
mean,
tell you what.
Guys, like this is the thing, right? As much as we, are very appreciative of the American culture when it comes to supporting entrepreneurs, supporting businesses, that's always very good. But you got to realize it's built on the same fiat currency Ponzi scheme. Whether you're trading in US dollars, whether you're trading in Aussie dollars, this entire thing is worthless. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on. They've discontinued pennies because it's actually costing them more than what the penny is worth to make it. The copper and nickel that it's made out of is now worth more than the cent that it's made up of or represents the value of. So guys, it's really simple. You got to get out of fiat currencies. It's the most garbage instrument known to mankind. It's a debt-based instrument. You've even had the big man Augustus Carstens come out and said that this is a central bank asset, and they want to be able to control how you can express your liability with them. So yeah, guys, get out of this. Don't hold worthless paper. It's only
Feels like it's just printed off a printing press.
It
I
is.
mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I wonder why.
and people will
my gold and silver feel different.
Oh, they do. They
People-
feel like they're actually worth something.
people
Yes.
work their whole lives trying to earn this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely worthless. I've even got here you go, like a little $100 bill showing the Benjamins as well. But like, check this out, guys.
You got a different president on yours.
You got, yeah.
I've got this guy.
Check
Yeah.
this out. No,
There you go.
this whole thing. Check out this whole thing is worthless. People spend their entire lives working for Benjamins and you have a great saying. What is this? One of your T-shirts.
Oh, well, look, another day, another dollar. They keep printing them and we keep working for them. And isn't that silly?
And not only do they print them, but they charge it to you with interest when you go and access this debt-based instrument. It's absolutely egregious.
And look, they've even got the letter F on it, which is the first letter in our favourite acronym.
Show them the 20 bit. Show them the
acronym.
20. This is something that I really wanted to,
Yeah, you can talk about
for
this.
those who aren't aware, the $20 US bill, the Federal Reserve note, is actually the proper term for it. Look at this, guys. Look at this bad boy. Who's that on there?
Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, look, he does look a bit like. So, for those who aren't aware, a little bit of history. I mean,
Stuck to me.
this is Andrew Jackson. Now, for those who have never heard that name before, Andrew
Jacko.
Jackson, this is one of the US presidents, and he's actually my favorite US president of all time.
Not Donald Trump.
Anyway, we'll keep it moving there. So the reason that I love Andy Jacko, as I call him, and Andrew Jackson or Andy Jacko,
AJ.
so on Andy Jacko's deathbed, they asked him, they said, Andy, mate, what's your favorite thing you ever done? What's your biggest achievement in life? He says, I defeated the bank. What was he talking about? He's talking about the central bank of the US. Guys, the Federal Reserve is the third central bank that the US has had. The first two lasted less than 20 years each. And Andy Jacko was the one who closed them. He called them a den of vipers and thieves.
Jeez, he's been kind.
He was pretty kind. He's kinder than I am to him. So this is, and what do they do? What do they do? What do they do?
It's a bit harsh on vipers.
They put him on a Federal Reserve note. He would be rolling in his grave if he saw this. They put him on a Federal Reserve.
Yeah, but that's
note.
because
Bit of
they
history. Is he a founding father?
No, he was a little bit later than that.
Yeah,
definitely wasn't a fan.
The founding fathers didn't want central banking. That's why they wrote into the US Constitution the Coinage Act. It is illegal. Central banking is illegal by the Constitution. Only
Removes the Treasury function from the Treasury.
Well, the US was a treasury right up until 1913.
And keep in mind, as
Now
well,
it's
guys,
not.
these founding fathers came from Europe, right? They saw the Bank of England. They saw what central banking does and did and what it's all about. They understood that deep down. These were very wise men. Not perfect, but very wise. So when they created their own country, they wanted a country without a central bank. I mean, if I created my own country, I would create a country without a central bank. And then if 100 years later someone brought one in, I'd be pretty pissed off. I'd be rolling in my grave, just like Andy Jacko would be if he swore himself on a $20 Federal Reserve note.
Yeah, absolutely, Sammy. You're 100% spot on. And of course, you were right about that being the third central bank. And you know what I always think about? The Treasury. When you think of treasury, treasure, right? This is not treasure.
Mhm.
I don't expect to open up my treasure box and
No.
find pieces of paper with
No.
old presidents on them.
No, I mean Treasure Island, right? What were they looking
That's where I'm
for?
staying.
Well,
What's your room number? Bish?
I'll be there later. The Treasure Island. What were they looking for? Was it Federal Reserve notes? Was it pieces of paper with pictures of dead people on it? No, it was treasure. It was gold and silver. If you look at the Disney movie Treasure Planet, I remember watching that as a kid. That was my favorite Disney movie ever. What did they find on Treasure Planet? Was it Federal Reserve notes? No, it
Was
was
it treasure?
gold and silver. It was treasure.
Oh,
Right. So this
I
stuff,
haven't
guys,
seen the film. I got the answer right.
it's worthless. It's fundamentally worthless. And that's why it's lost 99% of its value in the last 100 years.
And it's why we're over here to try to help liberate the American people, because just like Andrew Jackson, who's a great American president, we're trying to help people as best as we possibly can, both in America and Australia and across the globe, getting out of commercial banks, getting out of industry super funds, the 401k for those who are based here in America, and just get out of centralized systems of control and get into decentralized digital and physical assets and just live a good quality of life, ladies and gentlemen.
100%. All right, gentlemen, live from Vegas, of course. We're going to wind it up. Sammy, what should people be buying right now? Obviously, you're our expert bullion guy. You mentioned the P word a
I
little bit
did.
there. So over to you, Sam.
I did. So, guys, I've been talking up silver and platinum for months now. Been telling clients, get into silver, get into platinum, particularly at the ratios that each of those metals is to gold at the moment. The gold to silver ratio is about 99-1. Buy silver. That ratio should tell you to buy silver. And the gold to platinum ratio, about 3 ounces of platinum to 1 ounce of gold. Buy platinum hand over fist. I mean, over the last week or so, platinum's gone up 8%. 8% in 1 week. That's 2 years of bank interest rates in 1 week on platinum. So platinum's making a huge breakout move on long-term time frames. Get it while it's cheap. Get it while it's super cheap compared to gold, because silver and platinum are going to massively outperform gold over the next few years. And I hate saying that to people because I never want to talk anybody out of gold. But if you're asking me today, my opinion, my honest opinion on what I'm buying and what I think will do better, silver and platinum. Look at those ratios, guys. Those ratios are going to return to normal again. And when they do, you're going to wish that you held more silver and platinum. Silver's the monetary metal, so go heavier on silver. It's safer than platinum, but there's huge upside in platinum here too.
You love platinum. So,
I've been buying a lot of platinum.
you know when they say hand over.
Call him the Prince of Platinum.
Oof.
Oh,
Oof. Well, let me just interject that I have a little brother that may be called the Prince of Platinum.
Oh.
So we got the Samurai Silver, and then we got the Prince of Platinum.
Oh,
what metal have we got left?
Rhodium.
What about copper?
Oh, yeah.
There's something, the sea of copper. Oh, hang on. No.
Yeah, moving on.
You know, Sammy, how you said hand over fist. I've always, just very off on a side note, what is that? You have a fist and then your hands over the top of it. Hey, what do you guys think of when they say hand over fist? What do you?
I think
What do you-
think you're trying to like hand it over.
Oh, so like
Yeah,
this?
You're like, so this imagine.
Oh, like
So just about you're going like
oh, is
you're
that
throwing
what?
it, you're throwing it.
Thanks for clearing that up,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I've always wondered that. You know, I mean, I use that term as well,
I'd never even thought about it.
but I often think to myself, I used to think, do they mean like what? Anyway, but you've
Yeah.
probably cleared it up.
Yeah.
All right, Bish, what should people be doing right now?
Bitcoin, and Bitcoin. That's the only thing that is worth focusing on right now. If you do want to dabble and go a little bit outside the risk curve, XRP and Sonic are what we're focusing on right now. Sonic's had a pretty decent pullback as of late, so it's quite cheap compared to the rest of the wider crypto market. XRP is trading below $2.50, so US. So I'd still be accumulating XRP under $2.50. But the only thing, in my humble opinion, and this has been true so far, Bitcoin has massively outperformed the altcoins over the last 2 years, 3 years. So I'd be focusing on Bitcoin primarily. But if you do want to dabble with some risk, XRP and Sonic.
All right, gentlemen, let's do a quick cheers to wind up. Bishy's got the
Cheers.
whiskey sours. I've got the gin and tonic, and
All right.
Sammy's got the
Sierra
Sierra Nevada.
Nevada.
Cheers, guys, all the way from Las Vegas.
Cheers.
The Bellagio. Have a quick drink, boys.
Mhm.
I've got the straw there, of course. All right, well, that's it for us. We'll wind it up there. I think we've probably punished them enough today.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in Australia in about a week or so's time. Sammy, where are you going next, Sammy?
So Vegas for now, and then we'll be going back to Texas just to wrap things up there, and then back to Australia. So
A lot of stuff to wrap up in Texas.
oh well, look, I mean, it's a busy time to be alive, mate. We've got the shop launching soon. We've got to do all sorts of stuff in the background there to make things work. So lots of work to be done before we're operational. And look, I mean, with the price of gold, silver, and platinum running like it is, you know, to look after our American clients, we need to get this off the ground sooner rather than later.
100%. And you will, Sammy, knowing you. Bish, where are you off to after Vegas?
Back home. So I leave on the Sunday, and then I'm back in Melbourne on Monday, the 2nd of June. Can't wait. I've actually got back-to-back meetings with a lot of Beat the Resetters, actually. They've been very keen to catch up. So look forward to seeing you all in the office. And guys, I can't wait to see you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm off to San Francisco. I'm going to go to Alcatraz. It was called Victoria, but they've changed it. Then I've done that joke so many times.
That's all right.
I can't
It
wait to
always-
do
it
that
always
video.
hits.
It always
hits.
works.
It
I mean,
always
you've got to keep trying. You know, it's a numbers game here. All right, that's it for us. Of course, the guy in the hat, the Samurai Silver. I was going to call you the Prince of Black.
Oh,
Samurai Silver, the Baron of Bitcoin. Signing off from the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Boys, what do we say?
Make
Good.
Choices.
Look after yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Make good choices. See you soon.